Hi everybody, I'm Mataure. Welcome back to my channel. I hope you guys are doing well. If you haven't subscribed yet, guys, stop freeloading, okay? Subscribe to my channel down below. I'm coming at you with a baby on my boob because number one, it is a postpartum video. This is the reality. And number two, I have to film this quickly before MJ gets back from school. So we're just gonna roll with it, okay? Okay. Today I'm coming at you with a postpartum update video. So as I'm filming this, I'm currently now 3 weeks postpartum. AJ was born on the 25th of April, so we're trudging along nicely, but I wanted to tell you guys a little bit more about what it's been like the last couple of weeks, what we've been going through, how I'm feeling, and all of that. So I hope you guys enjoy. Here's a warning in advance. My mind is scattered, okay? Scattered. A combination of sleep deprivation, postpartum blur, and pregnancy brain. I'm sorry if this video is not going to make too much sense, but I am running on E here. I'm exhausted. I hope you guys are going to be able to understand what I'm saying, but yeah, we're just going to roll with it. We're going to roll with it. You guys said you wanted content, so here we are. By the way, this is just a graphic warning. I mean, this is a postpartum video, so it is going to get a little bit graphic, but if you are a little squirmish, click out of the video. Guys, breastfeeding makes you so thirsty, hey? Anyway, let's get into the video. So Ayanda was born on the 25th of April, like I mentioned, via scheduled C-section. So I've had a couple of you ask me why I had a scheduled C-section this time. Number one is because I had a C-section the first time around and I'm not interested in pursuing a natural birth. And number two, my gynae wouldn't let me even if I tried. As you guys know, I do suffer from hypertension. So I don't think a natural birth was something he'd be willing to try. I wasn't interested. So we just went ahead with a scheduled C-section. It was so peaceful. I checked into the hospital the night before. I had my surgery at 6 a.m. the next morning. Boom, baby was out. So she was born at 37 weeks because that's just the time that my gynae decided on. But also with MJ, I went into labor at 37 weeks. He was actually born on the day I turned 37 weeks, if that makes sense. And for AJ, leading up to the 37-week mark, I actually started going into early labor. So I think my baby is just like being born early. So yeah, at the 37-week mark, I had my C-section. That was the safest possible option for us, and that was that. So this time around, there's a couple of things that I did differently. So MJ was an emergency C-section. At the time, I did have an epidural. So I had a spinal tap, like a spinal thing, catheter put into my back. It was a traumatic procedure for me. Like, don't get me wrong, guys. Like, for most people, it's very quick, very easy. They inject you with a painkiller. They put the funny thing that they put into your back. Bada bing, bada boom, no issue. But for me, it actually took a lot of time. It was a very bloody affair. I'm not trying to scare anybody. So yeah, for me, it was really hard. So, the doc had to keep trying and trying and trying, and that completely traumatized me. Out of everything that happened with MJ C-section, for me, that was the worst part. So for this C-section, I opted for general anesthesia. So for this particular one, I mean, look, spinal is the safest option and it is the preferred option for C-sections nowadays. My gynae explained all of this, the anesthetist explained all of this to me, and they did their job by advising me that the best course for me would be spinal, but I opted for general because I think also C-sections are so boring because the baby comes out, right? And then you're lying there for another 30, 45 minutes because that part takes longer. The baby's out in 10 minutes. And then you're just lying there. So I don't want to experience that again. I just wanted to go to sleep, wake up, and be handed a baby. And that is exactly what happened, with a couple of complications in the way. But I'll talk about that in another video. But yeah, that's pretty much how I went for it. I think, honestly, I have no regrets. Going for general was the best option for me because even throughout that day, obviously because she was born at 6 a.m., for the rest of that day, I was very, very drowsy because obviously I was very heavily drugged. So I was going in and out of sleep for most of the day, which I think was helpful because it helped me to rest. Whereas with MJ C-section, he was born at 5 p.m. and I was awake for all of that. I hadn't had a good night's sleep in days. I was in labor the whole day, and then he was born, and then I was up for most of the evening because I was excited. And then, of course, the first night with the baby, which was horrible, and then dealing with the pain and everything. So I think I just had a lot less rest because of that, but because of the general, because I was woozing in and out, I actually got a lot of sleep, and it helped. It really helped. And because Chonks is there during the day, he could take care of her. He would help me, like, help her get her to latch and stuff like that. So yeah, I think general was the better option for me. And looking back, I have no regrets. So after you give birth, you can expect bleeding, right? It's completely normal. It ranges from like very, very heavy bleeding for some to like normal bleeding for others. I find a lot of C-section moms say they didn't bleed as hard as they expected to. I don't know whether it's because you bleed during the surgery or what. Whereas some people that I've spoken to who've had natural births have said that they bled quite a bit. So for me, I think the first 3 days, I bled a lot. Like, I bled a lot. I was bleeding out chunks. Like, I gave birth to a little piece that looked like liver that was this big. Like, I was literally bleeding clumps for the first 2 days. And so I was using maternity pads and changing them frequently at that time. But after like day 3, I actually just switched to normal pads. And since then, I think she was born on a Monday. By the Saturday, I think I was down to spotting, and I've been spotting on and off ever since. This is 3 weeks later, so I mean, it hasn't been that bad, but that's just my experience. In terms of painkillers, I was put on a bunch of different ones, but from the time I was discharged, I was on diclofenac suppositories. If you don't know what a suppository is, it's something that you put up your bum. It's an anti-inflammatory painkiller that you put up your bum twice a day. So that was what I was on. Initially it's like, oh, but because I also had it with MJ, I was like, yeah, you kind of get used to it. But I think that really helped with the pain. I was discharged on the Thursday, which is about three days after. Then from there I went home, and I was now dealing with a toddler and a newborn, which, guys, I cannot explain to you how complicated that is. Because for MJ, he's like, mommy's home. Like, let's do what we do. And I'm just like, no. So the one day, actually, I was lying on the bed, and then he came in to give me a hug, and he jumped on my stomach. This is like 4 or 5 days post-op. Guys, the pain. Like, I cried. I legitimately cried after he left the room, because I felt like the pain and the bleeding that happened afterwards was just, it was excruciating. And it's just one of those things where it's not his fault, but it was a lot to deal with at the time. And of course, you are trying to heal, you are trying to exercise and do everything you're supposed to be doing, but guys, that recovery can be tough. I think especially because it's quite cold at the moment. It's made it tougher. Sorry, 1 second. So another thing that happened actually, after I gave birth, as you guys know, I do have chronic high blood pressure. But when I got pregnant with this young lady, my BP was perfect for the first time in 10 years. My blood pressure stabilized. And the second they took her out of me, my blood pressure started to shoot up, and it was quite scary. It took them a bit to be able to get it under control, but we eventually did. I am back on medication now, and we are still trying to get my BP back under control. We're just monitoring it, trying out a couple of different things. But yeah, so, you'd think that the actual incision and everything and the recovery from that would be the most painful thing I went through, right? Wrong. The drama started after I got home. So I got home on the Thursday, and I noticed on this boob that I had a lump. And I was like, okay, I'm probably just engorged, right? I mean, my milk came in on day 2. I have an extreme oversupply, which means basically I'm just like dairy born. I gush so much milk. So I was like, oh, okay, I think I've got a clogged milk duct. Let me just see. So, I'm Googling, trying to massage it out and everything, and this thing is not going away. Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Saturday, I started getting a little bit worried because I was afraid I was going to get mastitis. So if you don't know what mastitis is, it's basically an infection that you get in your boob caused by clogged milk ducts. And it can be very serious. It can be very serious. You can get very, very sick to the point where you need to be hospitalized. I mean, it's a very, very bad infection. I mean, you can get a breast abscess where now your ducts fill up with pus and it has to be drained by a doctor. Drama is not something anybody wants. So I was getting really scared. And by Saturday, like, no jokes, the lump was like this big. It was like all across my boob. It was huge. and I was doing everything to frantically get it out. So it's the massaging, cabbage leaves, expressing, pumping around the clock. I was pumping constantly and trying to feed her constantly, but her appetite isn't as great as MJ's. Hey, like she doesn't drink that much. She's like, and that's it. And when you have an oversupply, this is horrible because it means you're constantly full, and being full makes it worse. So I would have a time, I'm just gonna show you guys on my boob, where like from here to here, I had this massive lump, and it was very, very painful. Guys, I tried everything. I contacted my friend Elaine to help me out. She's got experience with these things, and she recommended I see a lactation consultant. But of course, this was a long weekend. Hey, this was May Day weekend, so who was I gonna find? And then eventually I got in touch with a lady called Lexi, and she came over on the Monday on the public holiday. And I was so grateful. I was virtually in tears at that point. I'd cried, no, not virtually. I was in a lot of tears over that weekend. It was very, very painful. And I was just exhausted because I was pumping and massaging around the clock, and this lump would not budge. So eventually Lexi came over. She showed me a couple of techniques, tried to show me how to massage it, and this thing would not budge. We spent 2 hours and it just wouldn't go anywhere. So she recommended that I go and see a GP to get blood tests done just to make sure that infection hasn't set in. On the Tuesday, I went to go and see a GP. We did blood tests. Luckily, my white blood cell count was still normal, but I mean, this lump was there and it was huge. So after that, I went to go and see my kid's pediatrician because I mean, I had a checkup anyway. So I just told her about it, and she felt it and said, "Oh, I think you might need to get an ultrasound, but I think it should be okay. You'll probably be put on antibiotics. Hopefully, it should go away." Tuesday, Wednesday, it was not going away. And then on the Thursday, I went to see my gynae for my checkup, and eventually he sent me for an ultrasound, and we were basically trying to check whether the mass was filled with fluid or whether it was solid. So we checked it out, and it was actually solid. So it seemed like swollen breast tissue that was probably triggered by a clogged milk duct, and my lymph nodes were swollen, and basically my breast tissue was swollen. So he put me on antibiotics immediately because I was starting to feel feverish. I was getting night sweats. I was getting chills during the day. It was really bad. But he put me on some medication, and to hopefully try and reduce it. And then that was basically that. It was hard, guys. It was really hard and a very, very painful experience. I became extremely depressed. I mean, like, this chick, such a good baby. Again, not that there's a bad baby, but she's like so chilled. I mean, she sleeps like 3-4 hour stretches here and there. But the whole pumping around the clock and constantly feeding on the sore boob was horrible. So my doctor actually told me to stop massaging it because massaging it and pumping and squeezing was actually making it swell even more. So that's why it was just getting worse and worse and worse. So now the lump is still there, to be honest. It's there. It's small. It's a lot smaller than it used to be, but I can still feel something. So I don't know. I think maybe when I go for my 6-week checkup, if it still hasn't disappeared, maybe I'll get in touch with my doctor. I'll give him a call. But that's basically what I was dealing with for the first 2 weeks of her birth. And it was really, really horrible. It was really traumatic. It was very painful. And I just cried. I cried a lot because I was blaming myself, like, oh my gosh, how could I let this get this bad? And yada, yada, yada. But I mean, looking back, me beating myself up was unnecessary because even when I asked the lady who was doing my ultrasound, she was saying there's actually nothing that I could have done to have caused it. Sometimes it just happens. So I think a lot of the tears were probably contributed. Well, I'd probably attribute a lot of the tears to just postpartum hormones. Honestly, after you give birth, your hormones are all over the place. For me, I'm more hormonal postpartum than I am when I'm actually pregnant. So postpartum, I cry a lot more. My emotions do that. It's crazy. One moment I'm so happy, I'm productive, I'm at peace, and everything. The next moment I'm in tears. So it was a really, really horrible and dark time. I was very depressed. I didn't want to talk to anybody. I'm still kind of trying to get out of it now. But yeah, that's pretty much what I've been dealing with for the last couple of weeks. And then we add on having a toddler and having a newborn. So, guys, it's been real. I won't even lie to you, it's been real. I think my recovery overall has been a little bit easier this time around because I knew what to expect, other than the boob thing. Boob thing aside. Um, I think my recovery was a little bit easier this time because I knew what to expect, though the pain was a bit more because I think, because you remember they're recutting on that same scar. So that, yeah, I'm still in a little bit of pain now, but it's not that bad. But I think because I knew what to expect and I knew what to do to take care of myself, it made it easier. One of the worst things about it actually is that after you have a C-section, you actually cannot bath. I think like for the first 10 to 14 days while your incision is healing. So in that time, you are dry bathing. Now, I'm doing this dry bath while feeling feverish and getting night sweats because of this boob thing. It was disgusting. Like, and the thing, the worst part is, I'd constantly be taking up my boob to show people. I've had 4 different strangers feel up on my boob in the last 2 weeks. And every time I'd open up my bra, I'm just like, yo, I'm so sweaty. Like, you're trying to wipe yourself constantly, put on roll on and everything, but you're just so mank. You just feel horrible. So that was an ugly time. But anyway, we move. It's over. And I'm bathing now, so that's great. I also think when you have a toddler, honestly, you can't afford to baby yourself that much because life goes on. And obviously, because MJ is also going through a lot of changes, you know, he's got a sister now and he's sharing his parents, he's just been tantruming a lot. It's been really bad. So, you know, it's trying to be patient with him, trying to show him extra love, but it's very hard to do when you're exhausted and in pain as well. So we've really been struggling with that, but we're getting there. Now that we're back in Chimanimani, he's gone back to school. He started school yesterday. And that helped a lot, I think, because at least during the day, I'm just focusing on this one. I do have help as well. So it has made it a little bit easier to be able to balance because I can kind of split my time between taking care of myself, taking care of her, taking care of my house, and just trying to get back on my feet. So speaking of MJ, the last the last one of my previous vlogs, I was telling you guys how we were taking MJ to the doctor and he was constantly sick and constantly coughing. We actually found out eventually after we took him to a specialist that MJ is actually asthmatic, which is why he's constantly sick, constantly coughing, and like just constantly ill generally at night with the cough. So we were given a bunch of medications, pills. We're given a set of pills, 2 different inhalers, different things that we should try with him. So since he started on the medication, he's really been doing a lot better. Honestly, from the time he started using his inhalers, like in the morning and in the evening, like the coughing stopped almost immediately. So thank goodness for that. So now that he's back at school, I'm hoping he doesn't get a cold because last time it was like he'll be in school for 3 days, he'll come back and he's coughing. So because he is asthmatic and more susceptible to like allergies and stuff, he does catch colds a little bit more easily and it does take him a little bit longer to kick it. So I'm hoping that with all the multivitamins and everything that we're giving him, that he does a little bit better than he did last time. So it's day 2. I'll update you guys. If he doesn't get a cold this week, I'll know that something has changed. Okay, I decided to just swaddle her. It's getting a little cold. Yeah, it's been rough, guys. It's been rough. On days when I overdo it, I do bleed more. So I am trying to be more conscious of that and just really take it easy. But yeah, it's been hard. This young lady doesn't like being put down. She just wants to be held all the time since the literal day she was born. So that has also been hard. You can imagine having to do this at night. So this time round, Chonks and I are working smarter, not working harder. So we figured out that Chonks is actually a night owl, whereas I like to sleep early. So the way we've been structuring it is we put MJ to bed at 7, well 6:30ish 7, and then I go to bed at 9, and then Chonks stays up with her till like 12:01, and then when she falls asleep, he puts her down. And then I take over the middle of the night shift. So at least by the time she's getting up at like 2, 3 in the morning, I'd have gotten a solid block of sleep. And I don't mind. Then from there, from like 3 a.m., she's up to like 6-ish. So I don't mind that shift because for me, at least I would have gotten some rest. So that's the time that Chonks takes to sleep. So it's taking some teamwork. It really is. I'm so grateful to have a partner who's so hands-on, because then he then gets up at 6 with MJ and, you know, gets him ready for school, takes him to school and everything, while I stay with this young lady. So it's we're taking it a day at a time, honestly. I think with MJ it was hard because I was expecting him to like fall into a schedule soon, but now I know that, you know what, just take it one day at a time. These people change. He's only 3 weeks old. In another 2 weeks, I'll be singing a different song about her schedule. So we're just trying to take it easy and try to find our feet and try to figure out what our system is as a family of four. So yeah, it's taking some adjusting. Some nights it's really hard. For example, last night she was kind of fussy, and MJ got overtired from his first day of school, and he was just up constantly from 7 p.m. till 12. And then Zessa went, and then he got really scared because he's afraid of the dark and he's afraid of frogs. He has a very intense frog fear for some reason. And then Chunks had to go and sleep with him, but at some point he was screaming and she was screaming, and you know, we were exchanging. Okay, like, you go get MJ, I'll stay with her, and then I'd go get MJ, and then he'd stay with her, and it was a mess. But I think one thing that has really helped my sanity is being able to express. So because I do have an oversupply, I express into a bottle, so that at least the time that I'm sleeping, someone else can feed her. And that's just given me a little bit of distance. It's also helped because also then my helper can then feed her as well sometimes during the day. And I think that has helped my sanity a lot. I highly recommend it to all my new moms out there. Don't be scared. Express and give someone else a chance to feed the baby, so that at least you can get a solid block. I think with MJ it was really tough because he was eating like every hour to 2 hours around the clock, and it was exhausting. And I had an undersupply as well at some point. So I ended up putting him on formula, and that helped my sanity immensely. I had a few of you ask me on Instagram if I was breastfeeding. So yes, I am breastfeeding. I'm going to breastfeed for as long as I can, and I will stop when I can no longer do it. I'm not putting myself under pressure. I'm not putting timelines. I'm just going to keep going. And if things change, maybe I'll change my mind. But for now, I am exclusively breastfeeding and bottle feeding breast milk. Oh, by the way, so some of you have asked about how my body is looking and feeling actually in this time that I've been postpartum. Hang on, I'm going to try and put her down if she agrees. And let me show you guys where I am body-wise at the moment. So this is what I'm looking like at the moment. I'm going to show you guys my stomach. This is where we are 3 weeks down the line. I'm not under any pressure. As you can see, I have a lot of stretch marks. My stomach is very doughy and a little bit loose, but anyway, I promised myself that this time around I'm going to focus more on feeling good more than looking good. So I'm just working on like walking, stretching, trying to loosen my body up a little bit more so that I'm a little bit more comfortable. But yeah, I'm not really trying to put myself under pressure, and neither should any of you if you've just had a baby. Let's just focus. Hello, we are 3 weeks postpartum. Even if you are 2 years postpartum, it's also okay. But yeah, working on getting it back slowly, drinking lots of water. I do plan to go back to banting at some point, but it's been really hard. Like, the sugar cravings have been tough, and breastfeeding makes me really, really hungry. So I'm trying to balance that, but I'm not putting myself under any pressure. This is me 3 weeks postpartum. After I had MJ, someone said to me, oh, but you know what? Hang on to this stage because newborns are easy. And I remember thinking, what? Oh my gosh, how can you say that? Oh, newborn. But now that I have a toddler and a newborn, I'm like, yep, newborns are easy. I would sooner take her over MJ because she doesn't move. You put her down, she doesn't go anywhere, you know? She's just kind of there. Just feed her, rock her, burp her, and she's good to go. Whereas MJ is moving around, he's tantruming, he's crying, he's doing a lot of things. So I do agree now that newborns are easier. And I'm just trying to soak up the stage where she's not moving it, you know, while I'm kind of finding my feet. Chunks and I have, you know, we have said in the past that we don't want more kids after this. I think we're done. This is us. But, you know, you never know. You know how life is. We might change our minds later on. But for now, I think this is us. So I'm kind of holding on to that thing of like, you know what? One day she'll be older and I will sleep again. I think with MJ, I was so riddled with anxiety because I'm like, will I ever sleep again? This is going to be my life. But now I know eventually that, you know what? That first year goes by like that. It goes by so fast. Oops, sorry. It goes by so quickly. And that's why I'm trying to document as much of it as I can. So while we're on the topic of documenting it, I am trying my best. It's not easy. Like I said, my mind is just completely scattered. I am sleep deprived. I am just trying to find my footing again. And it can be challenging trying to do things and edit and yada yada yada, but I'm doing my best. I don't want to stop putting out content, but you'll have to give me some grace. Someone sent me a message. They're like, "Oh, can we have a vlog that's more than 10 minutes?" I'm like, "Well, I'll try, but I can only do what I can do. Basically, I can only do what I can do. If I can only put out 3 minutes of content, it is going to be 3 minutes of content. Or maybe sometimes we'll get a sit-down video like this one. But if you guys can just give me some grace, I am not at my best at the moment. I am figuring out a lot of things, not just like baby-wise and kids and family, but also just personally. I have taken a bit of a break from like the business side of things, like the takeaway. Chunks is kind of running with that. I did need a break from that. But I'm just trying to kind of find my footing with everything that I'm doing. So if you can just give me grace, I'm getting there. I will continue to try and put out content, but a lot of my content for now is going to be a lot of home stuff, like a lot of postpartum stuff, a lot of baby stuff, because that is my life right now. I would love to be like vlogging the Chimanimani mountains, but that's a little bit impractical when you have a newborn, and I'm not going to beat myself up about that. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'm sorry. I know. It has been all over the place. Forgive me. Let's just run with it, okay? We're just going to run with it and act like everything's normal, okay? Okay. But anyway, thank you so much for watching this video. Don't forget to subscribe down below. If you're watching my videos and you haven't subscribed, stop freeloading, okay? Press the subscribe button down below. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. I really appreciate it. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye. Some of you asked to see AJ's face. This is how she is. I don't know, guys. What does she look like? Let me try and remove these layers. Honey. Yeah, sorry, she's a little bit upset. But she looks exactly like MJ did at her age. It's like I gave birth to the same baby twice. But anyway, here's her face without a dummy. Hi. Hi, Mom. So yeah, anyway, this is as close as we're gonna get. Yeah, tell me guys, let me know in the comment section below. What does she look like? Anyway, I'll see you guys in the next one.